So good afternoon, we're Team Sigma and we will be presenting to you our analysis of the Selco case. So before looking at the company, we would be first looking at the environment around this company. So we will be looking at the industry and specifically India's electricity. So India has a very unique growth in its consumption of energy globally. So 3.4% of global consumption is from India. So it has an annual growth rate of 3.6%. So this consumption can be segmented into the industrial demand, which would be comprising 35%, and the domestic demand, which would comprise 25%. We can also segment the energy consumption into the four major sectors, which would be the agriculture, which comprises 34%, manufacturing and industrial at 38%, residential 21%, and lastly, transportation at 5%. So energy consumption is pretty much supported by these government policies: the Electricity Act of 2003, National Electrification Policy of 2005, and the rural programs by the Ministry of Power. But even if there is already government support for the energy consumption, the 1 billion people in India, out of the 1 billion people in India, 400 million still lack connection. So this is where Selco as a company tries to address this need.
So Selco India, it's been founded in 1995, is a rural energy service company catering to the underserved population in India. So they want to provide reliable energy services to the poor in a sustainable way. And the technology that is able to link poor to a better quality via sustainable energy. So how did they go about finding this solution? So what they saw was this. They know that poverty is a very important problem in their nation, and that is something that they want to alleviate. So how did they go about alleviating poverty? First, they tried to find activities that would generate income. After identifying these income-generating activities, they see that there is a potential in energy services to combat against poverty. So what is their business model? It's a for-profit model for social enterprise. And their mission is actually to empower the lives of the underserved population throughout the world by selling, servicing, and financing products that continuously improve their quality of life. But as of now, they're still focusing on India. So within their 15 years of existence, what were their goals by 2010? So here are the list of goals that they wanted to achieve by 2010. First is they want to serve 200,000 of the underserved household families. And they want to add 25 more service centers to support the additional households. Finally, they want to work with 6 to 8 additional rural banks to stimulate affordable loans for these underserved families. By doing so, they want to also apply these characteristics to their business model through sustainability, empowerment, innovation, scalability, and transparency. So now we discuss what really is their problem. Well, what they really want to answer now is, what new products can Selco develop to grow even more profitably? So these are the options that they're trying to take a look into. First is branding extension. Branding extension is basically looking into new products or other energy services and providers to create more products for their customer base. Second is they want to expand geographically. Currently, they're in 2 towns in India, in southwest of India, and they want to see if they can expand to different regions within India and maybe the rest of the world. Third, they want to cultivate new customer segments. As of right now, they're only catering to customers who have the capacity to generate even though a meager income, but they can still generate those income. Now they want to focus on customers who are from the poorest of the poor. Thirdly, finally, they want to replicate the company. Rather, they want to showcase the business model that they have and share it with the rest of the world so that it's easier for them to replicate the business model. And now, we will discuss the target market.
So, Selco wanted to target the most impacted in India. And who are those? the poor people in the rural areas. They segmented their clientele into 3 divisions. The first, the primary, which are the small farmers, small businesses, individual household, home-based workers. So the primary division, 65 to 75% comprises their total clientele. As mentioned earlier, these small farmers, small businesses, individuals, households, their yearly income is between $1,200 to $1,500. In addition, the type 2, the secondary, are also similar to the primary division. However, they only comprise 10 to 15% of the total clientele. Although their yearly income is quite higher, 2 times higher than the primary. And then the third are the institutions that cater to the poor, religious, refugees, and the government. It has to be noted that Selco does not have an active marketing strategy that cater to type 3 clientele. Most of its efforts are directed towards the type 1 clientele. So their current marketing strategies. Their first strategy is direct selling. So what is this? Direct selling is very similar to your Tupperware program. They call it tea parties. Technicians would demonstrate their products to the homes of the most influential families in the poor villages. Then they would invite neighbors to watch and participate in these demonstrations. Other institutions that work together with Selco during these demonstrations would be your local energy service center and financial institutions. So how do they work together? Other institutions that work together, so how do they work together? Staff from local energy service centers would follow up with a sales call to those to those who participated. This was done to gauge the interest levels of participants. Partnering with financial institutions would be involved with providing loans for these products. Banks played a very active role in the marketing of Selco's products in their own branches. They would identify potential customers who could afford and benefit from the system. In addition, the financing of products are very dependent on the type of clientele. Installments would range from monthly, quarterly, and yearly types. So the next current marketing strategy would be the customer journey. So similar to your trial period, they would choose a wealthy and influential member of the village, and after that, they would install the product and leave it there in their house for about a month or 2. With the installation of that, the families would be able to experience life with solar energy and compare it with life without solar energy. So families, when Selco technicians would come after a month of the demonstration, they would remove the system again. Therefore, families and neighbors would put social pressure on the breadwinner, therefore inducing them to buy the product eventually. So Ray will talk about the operations.
So for the operations, we're going to see how they are able to deliver to the customers. And for the operations, we've done the CPOC analysis to determine how they deliver the value to the customers and how they process the products. And for their core competency, we've identified it as the R&D, or the research and development, which is on the middle of the CPOC for the process portion. So CPOC is suppliers, input, process, output, and the customers. For the suppliers, you have the manufacturers, and they're the ones delivering the input, which are the photovoltaic cells and the lighting systems. And then for the process, it would be the research and development team, which is what we've considered as one of the core competencies of the company. And the output would be the solar-powered electricity in the form of lighting and power. And the end customers would be the poor families and also the entrepreneurs.
So you've seen how they're selling their product, you've seen how they're making their product. So let's see, are they actually earning? So from the financials, from 2004, as you can see, there has been a very erratic revenue trend for them. Their material cost has been around 66%, which gives them around 30% in gross profit margin. As you can see, there has been a sharp decline in 2007. So this has been because of the financial crisis. But they rebounded by, in terms of revenue, by introducing new capital into their organization. So currently, they're in profiting only a little bit. But going back to the main question, can they scale? So our group's answer would be no. They're not able to scale simply because of the customer that they're actually dealing with right now. So the customer that they're dealing with right now is the poorest of the poor in India. So this would mean that they would have low purchasing power. So the main barrier for Selco to be able to scale would actually be the buying power of their customers. So the process by which their customers buy is first is mainly through installment payments given through a loan given by their banks. So this is one of the barriers that they have to scaling. So that's the low purchasing power brought about by no financing scheme, and thereby not being able to convert the sale to a sale for the company. So firstly, before even considering the options of brand extension and expansion geographically, they must first address the financing issue. So for that, we recommend a short-term solution would be partnering with the banks and the customers themselves to form a joint liability model. This has already been implemented by them and has proved to be successful. This means that they would be taking 10 customers that would be in need of lighting products, and those would be jointly liable. So this would reduce the risk on part of the bank, thereby allowing them to be able to give these people loans. So we also want to be able to tap into the entrepreneurs because we would have a lesser and lessee relationship.
So for the short-term solution, so we are able to cultivate new customer segments in the process, but we also have the long-term solution. So for the long-term solution, our assumption is that we already have improving working capital for that, and our suggestion is to replicate the company through setting up a training center. So for the training centers, it's actually setting up a short course for micro and small-time entrepreneurs. So for the small-time entrepreneurs, we're going to have certain terms and agreement for them. So the agreement would be for them to take up the training for a certain number of months, for about 3 months, and also another choice is 6 months, and we'll compare between the first batch, and then we're going to have a profit sharing of 10% with the graduates once they start earning, and then the contract agreement would be 3 to 5 years. Then the assumption is that they will be under the Selco group once they have entered the contract. And then, they'll be funded by the banks for the long-term solution, just as we're also going for the joint liability groups. And it was successful in the case before. So for the model, that would be 10 entrepreneurs per batch. And the benefits is that they'll be having a support vision for the reaching of more households, and they'll have an encouragement for the innovation setup.
So these are our recommendations. Now, we would like to see then how does this all play out in financial terms. So for 2008, this would be historical, and 2009 as well. So what we would be projecting would be 2010 onwards. So for 2010, we would expect roughly a 15% increase in sales. So that's roughly an 8% addition to the industry, to the statistic that we saw a while ago in terms of consumption, with an annual increase growth rate of 3%. So we assume that cost of sales would be relatively the same. So we would be reducing our selling, general, and administrative. So this is predicated upon that the drop in revenues is because people cannot buy their products because of the lack of financing schemes. So to be able to counteract this, they are implementing sales promotions, expenditures to be able to boost revenue. Now that people are able to buy them because of the financing scheme, there would be less need to be able to push and advertise the product. So we foresee a drop in the sales promotions. So all in all, this would be a positive profit for Selco in the long run.